All right. Colorado finishes the regular season with a 9-3 record, shuts out Oklahoma State 52-0. And this comes after they get 4 commitments late on Thanksgiving Day, and you get to honor 21 seniors out there before the game. So just all around, outside of offensively in the second quarter, a pretty fantastic day at Folsom Field for the Buffs.
Yeah, I mean, from really, 9:30 p.m. last night on, it's been a pretty darn good day for Buff fans. Yeah, I mean, just an awesome day out there. And yes, that second quarter was ugly, but to see the fans came they got what they wanted to see today. They saw Travis Hunter ball out. They saw Shedeur Sanders ball out. Shiloh Sanders make a play. You saw all the stars really step up today and make plays. And for this team, there always is after a loss. Is what the questions are: how is this team going to bounce back? For this team to go out to Kansas and look like they did last week, and to come back this week and to do that was pretty impressive. And I know Oklahoma State is struggling, but I don't care who it is. So you beat a team 52-0. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think we should start with the defense because of that effort. We were scratching our heads after that game. We just still to this point, I don't know what happened out there. It was not of their character, as Coach Prime has said. Today, they were fired up from the beginning. Oklahoma State had 61 yards of offense until that final drive when they had, I think it was like 83 or something like that. But, I mean, that's about as dominant a performance as you can have defensively. Again, I understand that Smith really struggled at quarterback. They're true freshmen, and Bowman wasn't able to do anything when he got put in there. But, hey, you lined up against who was on the schedule today, and you dominated them.
Well, and look, Smith went out last week and put up 300 yards passing and over 48 points at Texas Tech. Bowman was returning starter quarterback. I mean, these are guys that have done. I know Smith is a young guy, but to do what they did today was really impressive. And you're right, they came out fired up right from the get-go. There were a couple big plays right off the bat, and then Travis gets the interception to set up the offense. And just like that, you're up 7-0. And later in the first quarter, Shiloh picks up a fumble, sets up the offense again, and they're up 21-0 at that point. And so you thought they were going to roll at that point. Then the second quarter was pretty ugly, and then the third quarter, second half, they're like, yeah, let's put this thing to bed.
Yeah. Before the game, a cool moment. Coach Prime obviously walked down with Shedeur and Shiloh when they were getting recognized in front of this Folsom Field crowd. Over 50,000 fans here today. But also, Coach Prime put his arm around Jimmy Horn, walked down with him. Jimmy was able to warm up today, but he was not able to play.
He did start.
Was he out there for the first play?
Actually, I think he got, if I'm not mistaken, I wrote him down. I think he got a ceremonial start. I think he played the first snap or two and then sat down from that point.
But that's one of those moments that these people that talk about Coach Prime going to coach in the NFL, it's like you don't get moments like that. Yeah. And that's what I feel like, and at least he seems to express this is part of it, that that's what drives Deion Sanders as a football coach. And so I thought that was a really cool moment.
Yeah, and there's so many guys like that, right, on this team. And, he's talked about Tyler Brown, a lot over the years. And he's talking about Isaiah Harge today, maybe the next great two-way player here. Who knows? But Isaiah did some things today, and he talked about what a great young man he is, and he talks about a lot of these guys in that same vein. And it was a great moment. We know how much Jimmy means to him, and this has been a tough year for Jimmy. It started off so great, 198 yards in that opener, but just injuries have plagued him, the second half of the season, and it's unfortunate for him. But clearly, Coach Prime, I think he'll never forget the impact that Jimmy had on this program, and in a way, the chance that he took coming and joining Colorado's program and Deion Sanders' program.
This is going to be a group that's remembered around here forever, for a very long time. In LeJontay Wester, who started, today out with a bang and finishes with 2 touchdowns, 175 yards. Yeah. Travis Hunter, over 100 yards. He's at 92 catches now for the season, an interception defensively, 2 pass breakups. It was not really in question going into today, but like Coach Prime said, I mean, this seals the Heisman at this point.
Yeah, and really, Coach Prime was more emphatic about it and saying, look, I think he shut up everybody about the Jim Thorpe. I mean, how could you watch that, say he's not the best defensive back in the country? I mean, he gets a pick right off the bat to set the tone. Finishes only 1 tackle, which means he didn't give up a whole lot. He also has a couple of pass breakups, and he's so fun to watch. And I know you and I, we've talked about it, but we get to go to at least a bowl game and see him play one more time. But for these Folsom fans, to get a treat like that the last time you get to see him here in Folsom, that was pretty awesome. And that catch that he made, that last touchdown, that's a Travis Hunter catch that not many people can make that catch. But that was awesome to have a catch like that. That it wasn't just I don't want to say ho-hum, but for Travis Hunter, ho-hum plays. It was phenomenal plays today.
Yeah, he makes those difficult catches look easier than any other player I've covered. It's pretty amazing. Shedeur Sanders, over 420 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception on a tip pass. The only I think you could have an issue with in the second quarter, Shedeur was not helping the offensive line by retreating, and they were taking too many sacks for a lot of lost yardage. And Coach Prime had a heart-to-heart with Shedeur at halftime, said, you're acting a fool. And in the second half, Shedeur came out and played much better.
Yeah, it was not a good second quarter. Offensively, it was pretty ugly, and Shedeur. That's the one thing that we've said about him is that when he takes sacks, he doesn't just take sacks. Like, they're big losses. I mean, they're 15-yard losses a lot, and they still wouldn't have got 100 yards rushing. But if you take out those sacks, they might have been close, and that's the one thing that Oklahoma State might be able to hang their hat on is they did rack up 6 sacks today. Way too many for the Buffs. The offensive line's been better at that, but the offensive line was different today too. I mean, we saw Ben Resnick in there was at right tackle most of the game. Tyler Brown started, but it was Ben Resnick most of the game, and so really most of this game you had 2 walk-ons playing on the offensive line and 2 true freshmen. So it was not like this senior-laden veteran offensive line. It's kind of a piecemeal offensive line in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and continue to be impressed with Jordan Seaton on the play where Shedeur gets hit late out of bounds. Jordan's one of the first guys in there. I'm surprised he actually didn't get penalized for retaliation. But that's been the difference is that last year when you'd have those issues, they would snowball on the offensive line. They just didn't have the confidence. This year's group just has a totally different mentality. So it certainly wasn't a perfect performance, but 5 of those 6 sacks came in the first half, so they got better as the game went along. Defensively, DJ McKinney, a pick 6, and it's a good thing they were up pretty big on the scoreboard with the celebration penalty there.
Yeah, it's a good thing. That was one of those penalties that you mentioned when we were up there at the press conference that cost was at Ole Miss, the Egg Bowl several years ago, and that's not a good penalty. But this team just they have a knack for when they score and they have a big play, there's just going to be a 15-yard penalty with it, and you just have to accept that. And luckily, I don't think any one of those have hurt them this year. If they get into the Big 12 title game, we'll see. If they get to a bowl game, we'll see. But they haven't hurt him. But for DJ McKinney, what a cool moment. That's the team he played for last year. Was in the Big 12 title game with them last year. That has to be a surreal moment for him to see that team struggling like they are, because the Oklahoma State program he played for and committed to has never looked like that. And so that's got to be a weird moment for him, but a cool moment that he gets a pick 6. And he did tell us, he goes, I dreamt about it, that if they made the mistake and threw my way, I was going to get one.
You talked about kind of the swagger this team has. It's really evident on special teams, because I was trying to ask Coach Prime in the postgame press conference about their coverage teams, because Tajay McCoy put a couple really hard hits out there. Colton Hood had another one. He's been pretty consistent on the coverage teams. Brendan Gant's been really good in that role all season. Even Caleb Mathis had a really physical tackle on coverage. So they want to get more touchbacks, and Coach Prime quickly shifted to the point
He didn't entertain your question very, very long.
No. He said, next year we're going to have touchbacks, and that's something that they're going to address. But I've been impressed. I think that's kind of an underrated aspect of this football team, the coverage units.
Yeah, that's one thing. I wish he would have answered that part of your question. He focused very quickly on the touchback part, and I don't think he listened to the rest of it. But yeah, if you're not going to have touchbacks, have coverage units look like that. It burned them one time. Was it Baylor that had the kickoff return for a touchdown? But other than that, the kickoff units have been pretty solid. And look, if you're going to hit like Taj McCoy does and like Colton Hood usually does and Brendan Gant, I'll take it because what were they starting at the 19, 20-yard line a lot of times, and so and they're fun. It gets the stadium riled up when you're at home and you hit like that.
Yeah, Oklahoma State didn't get into the red zone until the final seconds of this game.
Yeah.
So a great effort outside of that second quarter offensively, just a great team effort overall. Any other big takeaways? Alejandro Mata tied the school record with his 10th straight make. So he hasn't been used a whole lot recently, but he made the one attempt he had in terms of a field goal today.
Yeah, it's his only field goal attempt in the last 3 games, but he made it. And look, there's so many. I've been tweeting all day about all these different records and where these guys are on the charts and everything. But one last thing we should mention: Travis Hunter wins the Buffalo Heart Award.
Yes.
And there's a lot of guys you can go to. We've talked about it in the last couple of weeks. Like, who would it be? But Travis Hunter, Shedeur won it last year. Travis gets it this year, and so it's fitting. There's about 10 other guys you could probably give it to and say, "Yep, that would have made sense too." Cam Silman, Craig, Levanta Bentley, but Travis Hunter, I think, has meant so much to this program and to these fans, to be able to come out here and see him. And they've watched him go through the hit against CSU last year, come back from that and still be awesome, go through a little bit of an injury earlier this year, battle through it and still play and be awesome. So, pretty cool moment for him, I'm sure, to get that. And he's talked about how much he loves being in Colorado. And he mentioned recently that he even has thought about making this his home, for the future because he loves Colorado so much, and so that had to be pretty cool for him, for the fans to recognize him.
Yeah, Coach Prime, it sounds like he's going to be maybe up in the mountains this weekend, doing some snowmobiling. I'm going to be glued into the TV. I don't know about you, Brian. We both have tentative travel plans out to Dallas, so I want to find out if I can keep those or have to cancel them. So it basically comes down to 2 scenarios. You need BYU to lose and Texas Tech to beat West Virginia, or you need 2 out of the 3 out of Arizona State, BYU, and Iowa State to lose tomorrow. You're going to have some upsets in there, but the Big 12 is bonkers, so we'll see.
Well, it's going to be agonizing for Buff fans because 2 of those 3 games are at night, and so and one of them, BYU, doesn't play till 8:30. So it could be a very long day for Buff fans, and as you're kind of waiting for some results. And I got a women's basketball game to cover tomorrow afternoon too, but I'll be watching football. And Coach Prime's not, but I will be watching because our plans, we need to change them if we need to. He'll be fine. He has travel people that can dictate that his plans or not, but. It'll be fun to see what happens tomorrow. You never know in the Big 12. I tweeted this last week that, look, I don't expect this to be the first chalk week in the Big 12. It's been bonkers all year, like you said, and so something weird's going to happen tomorrow. Is it enough weirdness to get them to Arlington? We'll find out.
So we know we're traveling to New York in a couple weeks. We know we're going to be traveling somewhere else, whether it be the Alamo Bowl, the Holiday Bowl, or, the last or 2 bowl games ago for Colorado. So there's still senior day usually has this feeling of finality, and it's not there today.
It had it there, but there's also, maybe it's because we're so used to it being final, but there is that finality, but then also there is something more, and the great thing for Buff fans is Coach Prime reiterated again that their stars are going to play in the bowl game. And Shedeur Sanders was asked about it, and he goes, my dad mentioned to us and was like, okay, whatever, that's what we'll do. And I love Shedeur's answer on that because he said that's what's best for the team. Like, we understand if you take us out, this team's gonna look very different. And I love that he said this part too, because I've said this all along. If Shedeur and Travis don't play in that bowl game, you could see a mass exit of guys, and maybe they don't have enough people to play. He acknowledged that, and he said, we also understand that if we don't play, there's might be a lot of other guys that decide not to play too. And they don't want to do that to this team. I think that says a lot about what they think of, probably what he thinks of his dad, but probably what they think of Colorado as well, that they don't want to go out like that with this fan base.
All right, Colorado finishes the regular season 9-3. We'll see where they're going to be headed next.